Hello guys and welcome back to Old World Wednesday. Last week we gave you the awesome Gatekeeper on Longma miniature, absolutely incredible piece. And this week I'm going backwards again. When this model was released, which was my Miao Ying, the Storm Dragon miniature, I painted up the dragon straight away, but unfortunately the Dragon Queen herself didn't even get assembled. I was always nervous I was going to accidentally throw out the box with her still inside, which was a disaster. So I got her built the other day. I then thought, why not dive in and get her done for this week's video, just for the fun of it. She's quite a complicated model and I took a couple of wrong turns while painting her, but I powered through, changed some things up, and I'm now very happy with the final result. So in today's video, we're going to go through that whole process from start to painful finish, and hopefully you will enjoy it. Before we get into it, huge thank you to everyone out there for the continued support on the channel. Thank you very much for liking the videos, watching the videos, commenting on the videos, and thank you so much for all the people out there that have subscribed. And for all the people out there watching who have not subscribed, subscribe. You guys are awesome. If you want to help support the channel even further, link it down below to things like Patreon. There's a whole host of different reasons to be involved in that. Extra videos every single week, Patreon, giveaways, Discord server, community hangout, community showcase. It's awesome. Just check it out and get involved. Okay, without further ado, let's dive in and get this awesome miniature painted up. And this is the beautiful Miao Ying model. It's incredible. It's a nightmare to paint though, I'm not gonna lie. The upside down cape drives me absolutely insane, and it drove me insane painting it for the entire process, but we shall persevere. I started with Volupus Pink because I like the whole idea of the cherry blossom aesthetic. I know Cathay are based on kind of Chinese more than Japanese. I still love the cherry blossom aesthetic and I can mix it in if I want to. So I decided to go for that across most of her dress and then up on that big cape flowing up her back and some of the other details as well. So then I went to Google and I searched for what colors go with like a cherry blossom pink. And the internet suggested like bones and ivories and other pastel colors. Coral, which I had to look up what coral was. Turns out it's like a peachy orange color. But yeah, I went with the bone and it turns out that was a massive mistake. The two tones just didn't go together at all. I had absolutely no fun with this model up until I changed one kind of part drastically. But we're going to persevere until we get to that point and I'll talk through it. So still just knocking through base coats. Lead Belcher used for obviously all of the armor panels, her big armored gauntlet, some of the other details, and then went for a nice Retributor armor gold for all of the trim and all the other fancy metallic details that exist on her. Obviously we sprayed the model black and we sprayed it a nice coat of grey sear to make it a perfect kind of base coat for adding all these contrast paints to, which means that the hair was already that white color that I wanted to leave the model. So I was just careful when I was applying paint to, like her braids and little bobbiny bits that are in her hair, not to hit the white because I knew I just wanted to shade that down and then layer it up from the stage it was at now. We are starting to get through the last bits of the base coat. There's actually not too much to go. Obviously, we saw a Guilliman flesh across her face and one of her hands is exposed, so we're going to do that. But then that's pretty much it. We threw some grey onto the stones that she's kind of floating up on top of. And then we just started to shade the entire thing down. So I didn't know what color to shade it down at the beginning. I didn't really want to go for the traditional sepia color that I usually go for, or the Reikland flesh shade I go for, those kind of warm tones. I didn't want to hit the pink with that kind of a tone. So in the end, I did decide to go for a Nolan oil and just kind of darken the entire piece down and give me a really nice base coat to start building up some tones with. And that's what we did. And it went okay. But I struggle with a few parts, and this is where it's okay. Models don't go according to plan a lot of the time. I know a lot of people talk about doing testers, but when you're doing things like characters and you want the characters to stand out from your army, that means some of the colors are going to be different and you're not going to do a tester character. So sometimes you've just got like trial and error. You try something and then remember that you can always paint over paint. You can always fix mistakes, tidy it up, change it all. If worst comes to absolute worst, you can always strip the model and start again. It's an annoying process. You got to remember that you can only buy this model in a set that comes with a €120 dragon as well. So if you make a mess of this model, you're not going to buy another whole set just to replace her. So stripping is the only kind of option. When I got to this stage, I was still kind of convinced that it might work. So I went with my traditional 2 thin coats range of paints, and I start the layering process. Obviously, I'm using a lot of 2 thin coats range on my Cathay miniature, so I'm going to continue that on with the Pershing Pink, Hot Pink, and Neo Pink. I've used these before on my Emperor's Children, love the result, so I decided to follow that through and go with it. And by the time we'd gotten to the end of it, the tones were a little bit strange still. I don't know why, but it wasn't sitting right, so we do something a little bit drastic. But we'll get to that again in a moment. As you can see, I am building up the tones, following the natural lines of the fabric. Obviously, the fabric is like the fabric from her like neck down is beautiful. It's so much fun to paint. It's got such awesome like direction, really nice like creases. It's a dream for putting those highlights on and really kind of differentiating all those different parts. Really enjoyed it. And then you go to this swooping cape that goes up her back, and honestly, my painting skills struggle with trying to figure out how you would layer up this thing and make it look good without making it look kind of streaky or scratchy or messy. And honestly, I think I failed a little bit with it, and I had to shade the whole thing down again and go with the last 2 highlights again. So you will see that happen in a moment, but it's okay. But don't panic. Like I said, I wasn't panicked. I was a little annoyed. I was a little frustrated, but I knew I wasn't going to stop painting it. I was going to continue getting paint on the model until I was actually happy with the final result. So when I got to this stage, I don't know whether it just didn't sit kind of right next to the cream, but I did just go crazy. I grabbed Berserker Bloodshade and I shaded down all of the pink again, which obviously pulled the tone down quite a bit. And like I said, I was a little bit annoyed, so much so that I was using like a brush that I should have cleaned out more, so there was little kind of bits of grit or old paint in it. I was stupidly staining it as well, and I was getting more annoyed with myself, but it's fine. Don't panic. As you can see, I just go back in with that final highlight after that shade is dry, touch up all the pink one more time, and I was much happier with that tone than I was with the previous. This is the tone I had in my head. And now all I need to do is fix up the bone. As you can see, the bone is actually painted, or that cream color. I didn't show it because I'm going to be changing it. I didn't like it at all. So I just cut out all the footage of me painting that, but it was once again those 2 thin coats range of paints for that. So I'm going to use it as a nice base coat though. So, and I know the primary colors for my Cathayan army is focused around kind of oranges and blacks. So I grab a Gryph-hound orange and I do those big sweeping tassels in orange. I got those all blocked in. I actually left the kind of like loincloth section in bone, but the dragon motif going down the middle of it, I did an orange as well. So I left a little bit of the bone in the mix, but definitely not a lot. And I know orange and pink don't exactly go together perfectly, but I was actually a lot happier with this result. And I was more comfortable going forward once again with the traditional paints I use for my oranges, which is the Rust Orange, the Fanatic Orange, and the Orange Flare from 2 thin coats. And I went up and relayered all that orange until I got to a tone that I was really happy with. And I know that she will sit next to the rest of my Cathay army, and although she's quite colorful and quite different, that orange will help her tie into the army a little bit more. The only thing that I think I still failed with a little bit, although like I said, I finished this model, I'm really happy with this model, and I painted her dragon in a previous video and I was really happy with how that dragon turned out. When they're like together, they don't match each other at all. And like she's supposed to transform into this dragon, so I feel like there should have been somewhat of a shared palette. Maybe all of those awesome, like, I don't know, fins and scales on the dragon should have been done in the same pink, you know what I mean? But they were painted as 2 totally separate projects, so they don't match at all. But I'll get over that. Like, obviously, they're never going to be seen together. One is deployed, then one transforms. You remove one and put the other one down, so it shouldn't matter too much, and I'm kind of okay with it. Okay, with the orange coming together, orange and pink next to each other, the bone looks nice. I'm okay. I'm much more happy with how this is turning out. Let's turn to some of the other bits. So Ivory Tusk and Trooper White were brought in, and that was just for her hair. I wanted that kind of ghostly white looking hair from her. It just looks so cool. It's so like kind of movie aesthetic white hair that all the kind of mystical females from Asian movies seem to have, all the witches and stuff, which I always thought looked very cool, very striking. So I wanted to follow that through with those 2 colors. Once again, it wasn't the easiest job in the world, but white is never going to be the easiest. All those sweeping curves of hair, never going to be the easiest, but we made it work and I was happy with that final result. We have a couple of small details left to do. Obviously, you have to highlight the metallics. We have to paint her face. And then there's a couple of gemstones in there as well. And once we get those details done, we can call this model finished. We're going to add a crap ton of grass tufts and like static grass. I don't know why the word static grass wouldn't come to my mind there, but you know, forgive me. Usual skin tones for that. Taking my time. She's obviously got a very delicate, small face, and we do not want to kind of make a mess of that. She's very much a focal point of an army. Take your time with it. And she has one hand revealed, and the other hand is locked behind a big armored gauntlet. So make sure you're layering up that hand as well. So yeah, I guess the whole purpose of this video turned out to be an exercise in, you know, patience and, you know, trusting the process. Trust yourself as a painter. Don't just accept things you don't like. If something's not working out, change it. It's totally fine. You'll eventually work your way to something that you're much happier with, even if it takes a lot more time. But when you deploy it on a tabletop, you will feel a lot better about the model. And you'll be a lot prouder of the final result. I know that I've not done that previously. I've been like, that's fine. And I've painted things, and by the time I've gotten to like kind of too far into a project, I don't like it at all. One of them is my Leagues of Votan. I went for the red color scheme. Everyone else was showing off that beautiful orange and gray scheme, which I really liked. And I was like, no, I did a couple of models in the red. The red is okay. And now I've painted probably 1,000 points of the army, all with that red. And I wish it was the gray and orange one so much that it's ruined my enthusiasm for the army as a whole. I should have gone back and just gone, no, you know what? Let me repaint this land fortress and these couple squads and these bikes. It's totally fine. So live and learn. Do what you want when you want it and get the project done the way you like. It's the most important thing. As you can see, I'm tidying up all those metallics, making them look really nice. I black in the 2 gemstones, one in the center of her face, her forehead, and one in the center of her chest. And I used some turquoise paints that were already on my palette to paint up some gemstone colors. I layered up the rocks with a kind of slightly brighter gray. Added like so many grass tufts. I love the idea of the ground kind of lifting up around her, so I didn't want the rocks to be, you know, too polished. So I ended up putting a lot of grass tufts and stuff on the rocks. And then obviously filling in around it with static grass gave me the result that I was really happy with the base. And obviously that's another big thing. There's lots of like dull colors, that gray into the brown, and then you add so much life to it with the tuft that it does make a huge difference. So if you're ever really not happy with the model, I always say take a break and base the model. You'll see how the tones of the model are actually going to look next to the actual color of the base, as opposed to like people who airbrush, especially. You airbrush an entire model red and then you're painting it through, and the whole base is red as well, which is ruining the aesthetic the whole way across. So get the base done. So here she is, my finished Miao Ying. I absolutely adore how she turned out. I cannot wait to deploy her and play some games with her. You know, the Dragon Queen is ready to rain holy hellfire down. And yeah, really pleased with the result. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you thought about the format, and I will see you guys in next week's video.